Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm Abby Small, and today we have another deck discussion. Real quickly, I want to mention this because I haven't said it in a while and I've had quite a few new subscribers to my channel, and that is you are welcome to request that I construct a deck for you as a sample deck at any time, and I will base it on your collection, so what packs and expansions you have. So please feel free to make that kind of request. And even if, and that's whether you're a beginning player all the way to a more advanced player. I can imagine advanced players wanting to see, hey, well, I built this deck. I'd like to see what deck you would build, and then we can compare them afterwards. So lots of options there. In any case, just want to put that out there. I'll try to remember to say that more regularly because am getting new subscribers all the time. All right, so let's move into the deck. So first of all, this is a Black Panther Shuri deck with 44 cards. I purposefully let this deck have quite a few cards in it because it is called the Wealth of Wakanda for a reason, and that is because not only do we have easy resources available in this deck, notably Vibranium, but also we have Helicarrier and Ingenuity, but also because we have a load of card draw in this deck, and that is the key to this deck, is utilizing that card draw to get things set up for Black Panther relatively quickly, dealing damage throughout the game to the villain to get it to that final stage, and then either finishing off the villain with a little bit of damage because you've been doing so much damage throughout the game, or finishing off with a big attack because this deck also has that ability. All right, so let's get into this. So I'm going to get right into the sources of card draw right off the bat. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go to my list over here. Okay, so some of these are, you might say, not really card draw, but you have the ability to add cards to your hand in another way. So one of those right off the bat is Manifold, right? So let's go ahead and click on Manifold over here. So one of our allies. So Manifold is a 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, only 2 hit points, but has this great response. After Manifold enters play, choose a player. That player searches their deck and discard pile for a player side scheme and adds it to their hand. So this is the reason why I decided to include 3 player side schemes in the deck, because I want Manifold to have targets throughout most of the game, if not all of the game. So we have Build Support, which can, when defeated, help us get out one of our 4 supports here. Usually Helicarrier is that first one, but we have lots of great other ones too as alternatives. And I even had one game where all 4 of these were already out before I could complete Build Support. So after that, I could continue every time I put Manifold in, I could choose Build Support to put into my hand. The other benefit of Manifold, by the way, is he does have that 2 thwart, so that when you do get one of these player side schemes out, he can already make some headway on that player side scheme. So it ends up being relatively easy to complete Build Support, Specialized Training, and Superpower Training. Superpower Training, by the way, is only meant to be another way to get out one of Shuri's upgrades, right? So she has her 4 key upgrades in her kit. And before we get to that, why don't we get to her abilities? Okay, so going up to Black Panther, so we're going to be cycling back to, of course, the other card draw cards in a little bit. Okay, so I want to focus on her alter ego ability first. So first of all, she has the Genius and Wakanda traits. And then she has 11 hit points, a hand size of 6. Her 11 hit points are very helpful in this deck so that she can use her inventor alter ego action here. So exhaust Shuri, search your deck for a Black Panther or tech upgrade and play it, reducing its resource cost by 2. I did not include any other extra tech upgrades in this deck, so it's only her Black Panther upgrades, which would allow these to come out into play immediately. And so a reminder of what those are, we have the Kamoyo beads, which can, well, actually, let's go to Shuri's hero ability first, then we'll talk about those so that they make sense to talk about. So she is Wakanda traded on her hero size, hand size of 5, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. Has this response after Black Panther uses a basic power, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. So normally I might skip what these are. They're included in every deck, of course, because they're part of Shuri's decks, Black Panther. But I want to mention a couple of important things here. So first of all, this particular one, right, the Kimoyo beads, remove one threat from a scheme is the special. You may discard this card to confuse an enemy. I expect to use that second ability fairly frequently. So that means I'm planning on going to alter ego form relatively regularly and taking advantage of where is that? Of this other upgrade, Aja Adana, right? Exhaust this action. It's a 1-cost upgrade. Exhaust Aja Adana. Shuffle one identity-specific card from your discard pile into your deck. So throughout the game, I'm expecting to use Aja Adana to get Kimoyo beads back into the deck, and another one as well. So let's look at the other upgrades. We also have the Panther clause. This is one of the important ones to just keep out in play most of the game. Deal 2 damage to, the special is to deal 2 damage to an enemy. You may discard this card to deal 3 additional damage to that enemy. If you do, the attack gains piercing. I typically don't use that latter part until the end of the game for the final attack. And then the other 2 we have are spider bites. So this is the other one that I would tend to recycle back into the deck fairly regularly. So this one, another 2-cost upgrade, but again, using Shuri's ability can get it right out into play. But with all the extra card draw we have, a lot of times these cards will come out into play in other ways too. So we have, it's Black Panther and Tech. Special, choose a player, deal 1 damage to the villain, and each minion engaged with that player. You may discard this card to stun each of those enemies. So I use this regularly. A great example is when I was playing against Magneto. So as long as I'm here, let's go ahead and bring up the villains that I play tested against. So I had Claw, and I played, it was undefeated in Standard and Expert against Claw, Black Widow, MODOK, and Magneto. MODOK just got rotated into my villains that I play test against, moving out Batroc. So now we have MODOK, but I wanted to mention specifically Magneto. Utilizing, being able to keep Magneto from attacking is a big deal because of Magneto's, ability to place the magnet counters on the main scheme, which can then trigger some nasty things to happen. So once you have the ability to stun Magneto, I like doing it regularly with Black Panther's deck here. So specifically against Magneto, I also recycled Spider Bites back into the deck regularly. And then we had one other one, which is the Vibranium suit. Move 1 damage from your hero to an enemy. You may discard this card to give your hero a tough status. All right. So and one of the things I like about this deck too, because of the card draw, it's easier to get those upgrades out. And so more frequently in this deck, even though I am using those abilities like Kimoyo Bead's extra ability to, discarding the card, because I'm recycling these back into the deck, and with all the card draw I'm getting as well, I'm typically having 2, 3, or 4 of these in play very frequently. So that I did not find the same thing being true when I built my protection deck. All right, so let's get back into, so we covered all those extra things here. Oh, Black Panther, yes, we covered all those extra abilities and everything, got the upgrades. So let's get back to that card draw. So I mentioned Manifold, and what I was talking about was that superpower training is just meant to be an extra way to get one of these 4 upgrades of Shuri's into play. In addition, and also, though, as a backup, we could get Aja Adana into play if Aja Adana isn't already in play, because it is a critical card. Typically, it's easy to get Aja Adana into play anyway because of all that card draw. Okay? All right. So, but as long as we're here on the player side schemes, we do have another element of card draw here, and that is specialized training, right? So this is player side scheme comes in with 5. Again, relatively easy to get this taken care of. When it's defeated, you can choose a specialization upgrade. Typically, the specialization upgrade that I would choose, where are you? Is the combat specialist. So this one, your hero gets +1 ATK, which of course Shuri only has 1 ATK to begin with. And it has this hero response: after your hero performs a basic attack, exhaust this card and draw 1 card. And you do want to attack with Shuri periodically in this deck. So I might as well mention this right now, because we do have Upside the Head in the deck, and which is a 1-cost event. has a hero response after a hero makes a basic attack and damages an enemy, confuse that enemy. If that enemy is already confused, stun it instead. So this was another important element. Only included 2 of these, but I was able to use these relatively regularly to confuse the villain and periodically stun them. So in any case, Manifold can bring one of these into hand and either play one of them or use them as a resource to play another card. As long as we talk about one ally, let's go ahead and talk about the other allies utilized for a card draw. So we have Ironheart, who can draw us 1 card, Nick Fury, who can draw us 3 cards, and Moon Girl, who can draw us up to 3 cards. And we can include Moon Girl because Black Panther on the alter ego side has the genius trait. We can therefore only play Moon Girl, right? Moon Girl can only be played if you have the champion or genius trait, so you can only play Moon Girl when you're in alter ego side. And same goes for Ingenuity, by the way, our 2-cost upgrade, that you can only play this if your identity has the genius trait, so only in your alter ego side, but it's a resource generator that can be used in either side once it is in play. Okay? All right. So that's it for the card draw allies. Let's move down to the events that give us card draw. So we have 3 of these: Clear the Area, right, which has the hero action. Once you remove 2 threat from a scheme, if it removes the last threat on that scheme, draw a card. And then after that, we get to our support. So our main support for the card draw is the Elephant's Trunk. And I want to also mention Queen Ramonda while I'm here. So it has an alter ego action, exhaust Queen Ramonda, heal damage from an alter ego with the Wakanda trait equal to the alter ego's recovery. A lot of times you'll find that you don't need to utilize that ability, or at least not utilize it right away. So let's look at the Elephant's Trunk again. Has an alter ego action, exhaust the Elephant's Trunk, and up to 2 other Wakanda allies and or supports you control, draw 1 card for each card exhausted this way. So the vast majority of the time I would utilize the Elephant's Trunk. I would very often use Queen Ramonda as well, since that's a Wakanda support. Sometimes I would use the Dora Milaje support, right? This is 3-cost support, but we could to ignore this if we have our identity has the Wakanda trait and Shuri has the Wakanda trait on both sides, so we can play that anytime. And normally, or a lot of times, you want to use it for its action, resolve the special ability on 1 Dora Milaje ally and heal 1 damage from that ally. We'll get to those allies in a little bit, but well, I'll just mention them real quickly here. We have Aneka, Ayo, and Okoye. So these are both 3-cost allies, and Okoye is a 4-cost ally. And so they all have abilities that can help out with attacking and thwarting, basically. Okay? So a lot of times we'll want to use it for that. However, there are other times when either I don't want to bother using it for that, or I don't have any of those allies out. And so it ends up being a great target for the Elephant's Trunk. In addition, it can be Wakandan allies that are that you might utilize for this too. And sometimes you don't need to use all of them for your attacking or thwarting. So you might use it for some card draw. So I already mentioned so the Dora Milaje allies I mentioned, those are all Wakanda allies. But so is T'Challa, and so is Manifold. So, and T'Challa, once I get a T'Challa out in the game, so I might as well mention this now. So he's awesome, right? Because he's a 4-cost ally, but he has 2 attack and 2 thwart, 3 health. After T'Challa uses a basic power, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. My goal when I get T'Challa out is to leave him out the whole game. And I have 2 first aids in the deck, right? And with all that card draw, it's usually easy to get these and heal T'Challa. But I don't always have them available when I want to. So T'Challa ends up being a great ally at times to exhaust when we use the Elephant's Trunk in order to draw a card, right? Because we can draw up to 3 cards this way. All right. So that's it for the supports with regard to the card draw. And then we also have Skilled Investigator, right? Play under any player's one control. It's a 0-cost upgrade. Hero response after a side scheme is defeated. Exhaust Skilled Investigator, draw a card. So that's a really nice one to just include in most any Justice deck. All right, and then I almost forgot one other one, which is a very important one, by the way. Face the Past, right? 0-cost event. max 1 per deck. Hero action, search the encounter deck, discard pile and set aside area for your nemesis minion and reveal it. Ready your hero and draw 3 cards. You cannot attack the villain this phase. Remove this card from the game. So this is actually a great card, not only for the card draw, the 3 card draw, and readying your hero, right? Because we have Black Panther, very often wants to be readied. Especially if we were just an alter ego side and she used her ability, her inventor ability, she got exhausted. And when she comes back, that's one of the ways to ready her. And as long as I'm mentioning readying her, I also included 3 ready to rumble, so that when she goes from alter ego side to her hero side, very often she's able to ready in those instances as well. Okay. All right, so that's it for the card draw. So massive amount of card draw here that really facilitates all the rest of everything else that you want to do. So what happens in the game, so the goal is to be, getting those things set up, or especially her upgrades, her 2-cost upgrades. And one of the ones early on that you want to definitely get set up is the Panther clause, because every time Shuri attacks or thwarts or defends, you can then deal 2 damage to an enemy. And then also once you have T'Challa out, same thing. And then she also has her 2 clawed strikes, so which are 2-cost events, be able to do 4 damage to an enemy, and then utilize the special on those upgrades as one of the specials on the upgrades as well. And then she also has 2 copies of On the Prowl. So that's her thwart event, 2-cost event, remove 3 threat from a scheme, and then again, use one of those special abilities on Black Panther upgrade. So a lot of times we are choosing that particular one, the Panther clause, to do that extra 2 damage, though here and there we'll choose one of the others. And then we have Wakanda Forever, which I definitely use this a lot more in the Justice deck than when I played the Protection deck, because I had a lot of upgrades out. And so this was a more valuable card, right? It has the hero action. It's only a 1-cost card. Resolve the special ability on each Black Panther upgrade you control in any order. In any case, because we have so many of these different ways that we can trigger her upgrades, those 2-cost upgrades that she has, her Black Panther upgrades, then that gives one the ability to constantly be especially dealing extra damage, which means you not only are able to take and do some extra thwarting, right? And sometimes doing some stunning of the enemies, and sometimes doing being able to confuse the enemies. But with all of that going on all the time, we have lots of triggers for them, which means we're able to keep control of the board very well and eliminate minions that are out there, eliminate side schemes and other threat, and have some extra damage to hit the villain with. So typically what happens in these games is you're getting set up very quickly because of all the card draw, and because of Shuri's alter ego ability, getting those upgrades out, and then being able to constantly deal damage to the villain, which sets you up to get to the last phase of the villain, the last version of the villain, relatively quickly. And if you're doing that quickly enough, the final stage might not even have a lot of hit points left and you can quickly finish them. But this deck also can do relatively high damage for a final attack as well to finish them off. So the damage would typically in the final round would be anywhere from 17 to 24 points, not the highest, but significant, and enough certainly to get through the final stage of a villain relatively quickly and easily. So, and the reason for that is because we have all these allies contributing, including utilizing the Dora Milaje allies in here, combined with the Dora Milaje support card. So those are able to help you deal significant damage. And of course, with T'Challa's attacks, but we have these other allies that can get in there and do some attacking as well. And then we have, always triggering these extra, in those final rounds, very often triggering the Panther clause multiple times to do 2 damage, and then the final time do 3 damage. Because then, since you're going to finish off the villain, you don't care about discarding this particular one anymore. And then we also have her own clawed strikes to do 4 damage as well. So it's very easy I found it consistently very quick to get to that final stage and finish off the villain. So to give you a couple of examples, when I played against MODOK, for instance, in both standard and expert, MODOK only had 7 cards in his discard pile in standard and 8 cards in his discard pile on expert. And I went through Claw's deck. Claw wasn't able to get through his encounter deck very quickly, neither with Black Widow. Black Widow only got through maybe half of her deck. And then Magneto, let's see, in the standard game, didn't make it all the way through his deck once. In the other game, he did because he discarded so many cards. But like, for instance, in the expert game against Magneto, it took me a while to make sure I had control of the board and got things set up. But once I was ready to go after him, like, it was inevitable. I was going to be defeating him relatively quickly in 2 or 3 rounds because I was able to focus on getting rid of him. And even though, like, I kept getting out, he has that, he has a lot of minions that can come out, and I kept getting the one that has guard, and then that gives him afterwards a tough status, gives Magneto tough status after that guard is defeated. And still able to just constantly deal with those, maybe delaying things a bit, but kept it under control and was able to defeat him. And like I said, I was constantly recycling. Once I had, which card was it? Aja Adana out to be able to recycle the upgrades back into the deck, then I could regularly stun and confuse Magneto, once you have the ability to do that. And these to just keep him handled so that he wasn't able to get through his deck much. Like, even that time in expert, when he had, he was discarding a ton of cards and he ended up getting 1 acceleration token. He barely got that acceleration token because I kept stunning him and not allowing him to do anything, and here and there also confusing him. So it was a lot of fun with this deck, a lot of control, lots of constant damage, and then some really nice final burst damage to finish off the game. Card draw is just a ton of fun, in my opinion. That's my favorite, goal in a lot of decks, is to have a lot of card draw. And this deck did it well, and in some ways that I hadn't done it before. Like, I had never used Manifold in this way. So it was really neat to be able to utilize so many different ways to have card draw, and be able to set up Shuri so well, and be able to go to alter ego. Oh, speaking of which, so that's the final thing I probably wanted to talk about, right? So, and that is not this part, damaging the villain, facilitating flipping to alter ego, right? So first of all, we had those ready to rumbles so that when we went to alter ego, Shuri could go back to our other side and be able to attack or thwart, be ready to do that. But we also included under surveillance, the 2-cost upgrade, attach to the main scheme, max 1 per scheme, increase the target threat value of the attached scheme by 4. So that meant I didn't necessarily always have to have a villain confused in order to go down to alter ego, though most of the time I still wanted to do that. I had 2 copies of Upside the Head that also helped with that. And like I said, we use Komoyo beads for that as well, especially with Aja Adana being able to recycle Komoyo beads back into the deck. So just awesome control, lots of fun, and the ability to just do what you wanted to facilitate the deck and have relatively quick victories at the same time. All right, so that's it for this deck. Please like and subscribe if you find this content interesting, and I look forward to any comments people have. Love having conversations in the comment section. Have a great one, everybody.